Good evening. I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Tonight, the comeback kid from Kipipiri, who once famously said, "I would rather die than resign." That was about 5-6 years ago. Recently, he was called by the Parliamentary Investment Committee as a witness in the controversial standard gauge railway deal. They declared him a hostile witness. You should see the clip. In fact, we'll play it in a few moments' time. But I tell you, call him arrogant, call him conceited, but don't call him incompetent, because he has held no more than 4 key ministries: lands and settlement, transport, trade, and yes, finance. Tonight, we are asking the hard questions, and we're asking you to ask as well. It is time for Jeff Koinange Live. Welcome to the program. Today we're coming to you from the Terrace Restaurant inside the Intercontinental Hotel. And yes, one guest tonight, and we're going to grill him as much as we can on everything from the standard gauge railway to the Grand Regency Hotel deal to the De La Rue deal. He's a man who had his, I guess he was in the middle, in the thick of things back then. My Twitter handle is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. And my guest, like I said, the comeback kid from Kipipiri, Amos Kimunya. Good to see you, Mweshimiwa.
Good to see you, Jeff.
Before we go into this deal, you know, when you lost in the last election, you turned around, you released a statement through your people, and you said, this electorate is very ungrateful. You were pretty peeved, weren't you?
No, in fact, I had a very good letter that I sent at about 3 a.m. in the morning. When I looked at the results, they were trickling in, and I said, it's very clear that they made a choice, one way or the other. And there was lots of tension building up. So I talked to my team and I said, look, there's no point in waiting until we get final results. So to ease the tension, I'll write a very, soft letter, as it were, basically thanking the people for what they've done and telling them that, as far as I'm concerned, I've conceded defeat, and I will not even file a petition, despite the various malpractices, because I want the new chap to have time to deliver on the promises he made.
Yeah, but you called the people ungrateful.
No, I did not. That was, and I would like somebody to see that letter. I just basically said that I was disappointed that the voting patterns did not reflect my development record. Voting patterns meaning some areas where I'd done a lot, the voting was totally against. Some areas where I had not even done a lot, they had overwhelmingly voted for me. But by and large, I was disappointed because I had spent the last 2 months with the people, and we were actually not even thinking about the election. We were talking about what are we going to do in the next 5 years. And I spent all the time then even campaigning for the TNA team and for President Uhuru in Nyandarua, the entire Nyandarua, because I had no issues in Kipipiri. Then last minute, I get this disappointment. So, but then somebody then, one of the reporters, obviously under influence, changed my whole letter to say I had called the people ungrateful. And that's the last thing I would call the people of Kipipiri.
Yeah.
Because I love them and that's my home.
Correct.
And up to now, I'm doing more in Kipipiri than I was doing even then.
Okay, you are no stranger to controversy. Remember that famous statement, "I would rather die than resign"?
Yes, and I never died.
But you did.
I never resigned.
You stepped out. You stepped away from finance.
I basically stepped aside to facilitate an independent inquiry.
And then you were reinstated.
Which was cleared. It cleared my name. And despite that, I still see people quoting that I had a problem which was resolved. Now, Jeff, when you have an issue, because people have made some allegations, and then it's subsequently cleared, I don't know whether it's the media or whether it's the people, they constantly keep saying that so-and-so had been accused of this. He was subsequently acquitted, right? Now, the acquittal should clear all that so that there's no further reference.
Right.
Because you can imagine somebody who is falsely accused of, say, murder or some other crime and goes through the harrowing experience of the courts. Once you're acquitted, it will be so unfair to then keep people saying that Jeff had been accused of murder and was then cleared by the courts. Now, that's the dilemma I face. Because on all those issues, you know, I was accused, it was cleared, but the reference is always that he was accused of.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the latest. When the PIC declared you a hostile witness, we're going to play a clip right now, and after we play it, you'll set it up for us and what happened. Okay, so let's go to this clip where the other day, Amos Kimunya appeared before the Parliamentary Investment Committee, and I tell you, this was great television. Take a look.
How do I come in to give the evidence for government? I'm not in government. For Kenya Railways, I'm not in Kenya Railways. For China Road, I'm not in China Road.
But to start and say, who am I coming for? This is not adversarial. There's nobody who is an accused person here. There's nobody who is an accuser here.
If he cannot respect the committee, if he wants to dictate how we operate, why don't we declare him a hostile witness?
Let's get back straight to the point. Take charge of the meeting. Let's go back to the point. They are studying what are the guide some of these things, and I don't take kindly the kind of insinuations you're taking around.
You have had an opinion. The Honorable Serem will have the right to be heard, Mheshimiwa Kimunya. If you don't want to hear that, please, you can block your ears.
I'm not in Parliament. I'm not in Toulouse.
Mheshimiwa Kimunya, sorry.
But if you want me to help you, let us engage. In
I'm sacrificing my time. Each one of you is going to be paid an allowance from now on for sitting here. I'm not being paid. I've come to here to talk to you as part of my segregation. Right? For order, please.
Let's allow the Honorable Kimunya. I think
Let's have some civility, right? Yeah? Let's have some honor.
Can I now rule you out of order?
No, Mr. Chairman, you're the one who is out of order.
Point of order. I think what we are going to do is this. Sorry. We are not going to accept any more hearing from the Honorable Kimunya. I think we have had enough of a lecture. You said whatever
it's
you
really
want.
up to you.
Yeah, just no.
Right?
At this stage, we have no choice. We'll look at our procedures and declare the Honorable Kimunya as a hostile witness.
No.
And the meeting stands adjourned.
It is no doubt one of those moments where you say you simply cannot make this stuff up. And by the way, for the record, I had invited PIC Chairman Aidan Canaan to come on the show tonight. He says he cannot come right now until the report is completed. But Amos Kimunya is here to clear the air, if you will. So set that up for us. As a private citizen,
Yes.
you volunteered as a witness in this standard gauge railway talks, whatever.
So what happened is I received, I saw in the papers that I'm going to be summoned as a witness, okay? That was in January. And I started asking myself, in what capacity am I being invited? Then the clerks in Parliament called me and said, we have your letter inviting you to come and speak to the committee. Where should we deliver it? I said, do you have email facilities? Yeah, they said, yeah, just scan the paper and, send it to me by email. I read it and I quickly replied back, basically saying to the committee that thank you for inviting me and thinking I can be of input and of help to the committee. But looking at the issues you're asking me to do, I'm now a private citizen. I don't have access to the government documents that you are referring to. I don't have access to the government processes. The people who have access to those documents have already appeared before you, and no less than His Excellency the President has pronounced the government position on this matter. So who am I as a mere citizen, law-abiding citizen of this country, to go start contradicting the President, who is carrying on this project? So I basically said, I can't see why I'm going to help you because the government has already spoken. And I wasn't doing anything as Amos Kimunya, it was as government. And they read the letter, they received the letter. Nobody replied to me to say, yes, we've received it, and despite that, we still believe you should come. And then I see in the news that I was expected. So I asked, in Parliament, how was I expected? Was there some letters to me? They said, no, I think there's some confusion, blah, blah, blah. It went on and said, okay, when would you be available? That was on Thursday last week. And I said, on Wednesday last week. And I said, I'm available on Monday afternoon. So send me the letter, reply to my email, and send me that you still need me. So the clerk promised to do that. And what I then received by email is summons to appear as a witness. And then on the Wednesday, the same evening, I was playing my golf at Muthaiga. I finished playing golf, and I'm told there's some 2 officers from Parliament who want to see you. And they said, fine, bring them in. Said, yeah, we brought a letter for you. It was very confusing, even who signs where. So I said, thank you. I've already received a copy by email, but nevertheless, I'm the one who gave the date for Monday, and I'll appear to just see what is it that the committee wants of me. I was there on Monday at 2:10. I was the first one in the room. I waited for the committee up to about 2:30 when they all started streaming in, and I chairman, the good old jolly political, hi, how are you, blah, blah, blah. We went on, and I said, I'm here. How do you guys want me to help you? Oh, yeah, we just want you to tell us what happened on this railway. And I said, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. At what point did it get ugly? Because
and we started very well.
Yeah.
But I said, now, it's changed from an invitation to appear before the committee and give information to legal summons, right? Pursuant to the Powers and Privileges Act, right? Now, when you're talking legal issues, you need to be careful. So I started by asking them, fine, I've appeared as a witness. But when you appear as a witness, you must be a new witness for a certain party. And there was like 5 parties in this. There's Parliament, so I could appear as an expert witness for Parliament. There's the China Road and Bridge Corporation. There's the Kenya Railways. There's the Minister of Transport and the wider government. And there's also the government of China. So I said, just clarify for me, who am I appearing as a witness for? And by just that one question, they started saying, oh, he doesn't want to cooperate, we should declare him hostile witness. And I said, no, I'm here to answer questions, but at least let me understand the context in which you have invited me.
But you could
because I'm a private citizen.
But you could see from the video the body language.
Yes.
The body language between you and the committee.
That was upfront. Then I said, fine, I'll take the oath. And now I read my submission, a 2-page submission which I had prepared, answering all the issues. And from that submission, it was very clear, even to them, that really I wasn't going to be of much use because they're asking me, to give documents that are with Kenya Railways. And I said, the MD of Kenya Railways is in a better position. In terms of financing agreements, the Treasury would be in a better position to give you this document, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not custodian to this document.
Sure, but you turned around and said that China Roads and Bridges, the tender they got was above board. You declared that.
I basically told them, in my own opinion, it's good value for Kenya, right? But in terms of the legalities and all that, again, I said the person who can give the opinion as to whether this contract is in accordance with the law is the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya.
But when you say it's a good deal at 347 billion or whatever it's come to, you still think it's a good deal?
Yes, it's all relative, right? You see, and I give them the example of Thika Road. It's about 35 kilometers.
Yeah.
It costs us about 35 billion.
Correct.
$1 billion per kilometer.
Yeah, which was
right?
Overpriced. It cost twice as much as it should have.
May have been overpriced, may have cost as much, but you need to look at what exactly was done. Yeah? You can't compare that with a road being done on virgin land, no acquisitions, no translocation of services and all that. So each of these things is unique. And at the end of it all, I'm an accountant. If I had to put in my professional services, I would be able to evaluate that thing and tell you, are we getting a good deal or not? And I would have to hire some engineers and other people to look at those things.
Yeah.
Now, as a politician, surely I can't imagine any of them, collectively or individually, who will be able to say, is this a better deal or not? And I did advise them that on this matter, Before we incite the public to start thinking there's something wrong or there's something right, you have the resources. Engage experts. Let's have expert advice. Let's have the Auditor General look at all these issues you're asking me, right? Because you're asking me your opinion as to, was this contract signed by China Road Kenya or China Road China, right? Now, surely Parliament should be having those documents, and they can see who has signed.
Yeah.
I don't have to be asked as a private citizen who has signed.
Right.
Or better still, get the Auditor General to confirm who has signed.
And all this noise coming out, from Parliament, from everyone from Alfred Kitter to these brokers now claiming they didn't get the deal and they should have gotten the deal and they're not getting to eat and so-and-so's not eating. I mean, come on. Aren't we past that yet? And I want to talk that after the break. Aren't we past that yet?
Yeah.
If it's such a great deal on paper, why all the noise? Why all the messiness? Also, Grand Regency, they sold it for half the price they should have. You want to talk about that?
Who said that?
Okay.
You see the new valuation?
De La Rue, 1.8 billion. I want to talk about that.
Good.
The comeback
I'm
kid,
here.
Kipipiri. The hostile witness has appeared just in time too. We are talking to Amos Kimunya, former MP from Kipipiri, former Trade Minister, Finance Minister, Lands and Settlement Minister, Transportation Minister. I tell you folks, this man has done the rounds. And now he's around the bench. Don't even think of touching that dial. Keep your tweets coming. My handle, @Koinange Jeff, #JKL. And JKL will be back in a moment. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live from the Terrace Restaurant on the Intercontinental Hotel tonight. It's all about Amos Kimunya, what he knew, when he knew it, how he knew it, and everything from the Standard Gauge Railway to De La Rue to Grand Regency, everything and more. First of all, okay, with the Standard Gauge Railway, how come there are two committees investigating this whole controversy? There's the Parliamentary Investment Committee,
and the Investments Committee,
yeah,
and then the Departmental Committee on Transport. Now, you know the way Parliament works. There's the two main standing committees, the audit committees as it were, the Public Accounts Committee
PAC,
and the PIC, which is the Public Investments Committee. PAC looks at the audit and accounts of the wider government, and PIC looks at the accounts and reports of the parastatals, right? And its work is regulated by studying order number 206, right? And Jeff, because I've checked through the current website of Parliament, the current, what is functions of PIC is to look at the accounts of the parastatals, also to look at some of those issues I can read out for you and for our listeners, because it's very important.
and especially for the parliamentarians.
Yes,
maybe they don't
and
read.
for parliamentarians,
Yeah.
right? Because it says functions of the PIC shall be to examine the reports and accounts of public investments, to examine the reports, if any, of the Auditor General on public investments, and to examine in a context of autonomy and efficiency of the public investment, whether the affairs of the public investments are being managed in accordance with sound financial or business principles and prudent commercial practices. But more importantly, at 7, it says, despite paragraph 6, right? And this is a catch. Despite paragraph 6, PIC shall not examine any of the following. Shall not examine any of the following: matters of major government policy as distinct from business or commercial functions of the public investments, matters of day-to-day administration, and matters for the consideration of which machinery is established by any special statute under which particular public investment is established. Now, just concentrate on matters of major government policy.
Because this is a government-to-government
Now, you
deal.
might ask yourself, is the decision to do the Standard Gauge Railway a decision by Kenya Railways? Is it part of their normal business?
Not as far as I know.
It's a major government policy. In fact, it goes beyond the government of Kenya. It's a regional policy. Now, PIC, according to these standing orders, cannot examine that or challenge government policy. But here they are, right? Harassing us, harassing every public servant to go and appear before me. Now, in terms of the day-to-day issues, those are given to the Departmental Committee on Transport. So if member of staff at Kenya Railways or at Kenya Ports Authority, or if there's an issue, there's a ferry that has stalled, the departmental committee can rightfully go and check what is happening.
But not something of this magnitude.
Now, even this magnitude is government policy, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can't go challenging and stopping government policy. It was a major campaign promise by the Jubilee government that when coming to power, they are going to have the standard gauge railway. And the millions of people who turned up to vote because they wanted it, just like the laptops, right?
Yeah.
Now, how
Which
do
we're
you
still
go
waiting for,
and
by the way.
tell?
We're still waiting for them.
Well, and I wouldn't want to comment on that because it's a matter I don't quite understand, although I'm not quite sure what Parliament is talking about it. But they'll go to India. It's a free ticket to go to India to see how they manufacture them.
Yes.
But the issue here is standard gauge railway. It's a major government policy. PIC is stopped by the standing orders of Parliament itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
From examining a major government policy.
Okay, major government policy, Mheshimiwa, but
or even in a government policy.
sure, but
Yeah.
controversial,
It may be-
overextended,
it may be controversial.
overpriced.
It may be controversial, it may be extended, it may be overpriced. But who is the most competent person to tell us whether it's extended, whether it's overpriced, and all those things? It's Auditor General. Have we received a report from the Auditor General? None. Have Parliament asked the Auditor General to investigate this matter? None. We have in place mechanisms for resolving each of these issues. If there's corruption, there's the anti-corruption authority, right? They should have been told, we think there's something here that members are saying there's corruption. Can you follow it and give a report to Parliament? Because they report to Parliament.
Yeah.
Auditor General, can you look at this matter and report? The Public Procurement Oversight Authority, can you look at this matter and report? The President himself has declared that he is comfortable with this policy.
Right.
He has sent his ministers, his officers to Parliament to report, right?
But obviously
So-
there are people who are not happy.
There are people who are not happy, and they are using some of these members of Parliament
Yes.
who don't seem to understand what they should be doing, right? Except making noise, there's cash for question, there's all those issues that keep on coming up. I've been in our Parliament for 10 years, right? And I know what goes on. And I knew I was always on the receiving end. And part of the reason I had problems with members of Parliament is I refused to deal, right?
Yeah.
It's called, mobilizers, or what is it called? It's not quite mobilizers. It's
like getting the numbers.
it's talk to us, but it's not talking the way we are talking.
No.
Right.
There's an exchange of.
Take us to some place. We have lunch. Then we will see how we can support you. But for me, that does not. It's not part of my way of doing business.
Yeah. Okay.
And I get in trouble for that, and I'm called arrogant, and I'm told, "Oh man."
Correct. But you can take it, can't you? You take it.
I take it at times, but what I'm wondering now is when I look at what is happening, is I'm very sympathetic to Kenya as a country. Where are we going? Anything that people don't understand, anything that members of Parliament don't understand, it becomes a scandal, right? Now, I pity the Secretary for Education, Cabinet Secretary for Education. He's been explaining to us, I have to cancel this tender for the laptops and all that, we're going this route. Yeah, we read about it. Now, all of a sudden, when we hear there's an award, there's a committee saying it should not be awarded. Now, at what point does Parliament do the executive's work to say who you can award or who you cannot award? They should wait for the government to commit if it's a crime, if it's doing, it will report to Parliament, right?
Yeah.
But now hearing that a committee will be going to India to see whether this company has the capacity to manufacture these laptops. Why go to India? Just wait for them to produce laptops.
Do you think?
Or send an engineer.
Do you think we've become a nation of whingers or complainers?
And witch hunting, and unfortunately, what that will do, and we saw that happening in the last coalition government, is that the public servants get scared, right? Because you don't want to touch anything that is likely to rise to a scandal, your name is going to be messed up and all that, so you don't want to take risks. Now, you don't move forward if you don't take risks, right? The reason I was able to move some of the things I did from Treasury and from all is I was able to take risks. And I said, look, let people do what they want. But if I believe it's in the best thing for the country, it's the right thing for the country, I'll go ahead and do it. Look at the Safaricom, for example, IPO. I was taken to court about it. People stopped it, right? But where is Safaricom now?
Yeah, they're number one.
They're not just number one. They are tops there, right?
Yeah.
M-Pesa, right? M-Pesa was brought to me because Central Bank had refused. Michael Joseph came to me almost in desperation and said, Minister, we are told we can't stop, we can't, launch this because there are no rules and all that. And this guy says, Central Bank, what is the problem? Oh, we don't have the laws. Said, but what is the worst that can happen? Oh, this will be another pyramid scheme. And you may remember some of those things being brought in when Michuki came, the day Michuki came into treasury.
Yeah.
That, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. I said, no, this thing I can see, it's got some future, right? I launched it in March of 2007.
M-Pesa?
Yes.
That was you?
It's me. If I did not make that decision on that day, M-Pesa would have died, right? And look at what it turned out to be. But there are some things we don't talk about, we don't brag about, we take risks about them, and they turn out good, right? The Regency Hotel that everyone keeps talking about.
Correct. That was supposed to be sold for 115 million US.
By who? To who?
You
How
know.
come the buyer has never come to complain that I had offered 150 million and somebody else offered 45, right?
Yeah.
So can I take it back, right? How come we never had who offered 115? In any case, this was a deal being facilitated by the Central Bank of Kenya and the government of Libya, right?
Yeah.
Directly. My role was to go to report to Parliament, right? And that's what I did, because it had nothing to do with the treasury. The Central Bank had the security. And if you remember the borrower,
Yes.
he's a popular man in this country.
We can say his name.
We won't say his name. He's a popular man. But he kept on...
We'll call him Goldenberg.
toing and froing in the courts to frustrate the process. And we must thank Mika Cheseram, right? When he was governor, he's the one who just said, look, I'll attach something at least, yeah, because money has disappeared. He attached the papers for Uhuru Highway Development, not the hotel. Remember, there's a difference between Intercontinental Hotel and the land is sitting, because the hotel is a business. There's a difference between Regency Hotel and Uhuru Highway Development. So the building was owned by Uhuru Highway Development. Mika Cheseram took those titles, right? And the investor had the hotel. So he kept on saying, you cannot sell the building because that will mean I cannot operate my hotel from the air, right? So there are all these, like, there are stories of Abnuasi with the two joint receivers, one for the hotel, one for the building. Now, we basically said this has to stop. And I did ask Central Bank that it's not it's against the Central Bank Act for you to actually be operating a business. You must make a decision on what you want to do with this issue of the Regency.
Yeah.
The governor came, they did everything, they managed to get the buyer, and all I was supposed to do is not even to approve the transaction, is to report to Parliament.
Do you think it was undersold in the end, $45 million to the Libyans? Was it undersold?
I've never seen a better offer. And remember, at the same time, when we were selling the Regency for $45 million, which was about 3.2 billion shillings,
Yep.
we were buying Shell and BP house, about the same size, to house the office of the Prime Minister, and we negotiated at 700 million, right? Now, if I was going to want to do like what other people would have wanted to do, we would have sold Regency cheap and bought Shell and BP house expensively, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But we managed to get maximum on Regency, because I told Central Bank, whatever you do, don't sell below the 2.5 billion, and let no money that has already been earned ever go back to the investor, as it were. And so I believe, I've never seen any figures, and all independent valuation that came, nobody has ever shown. And even during the COCA commission
Yeah.
that was held in public, members of public were asked, come and give us if you have any other information, including all the valuers, and they returned a value of 2 billion shillings, right? So that to me was the best thing that could have happened, and I don't regret that it went that way. I was also happy that I had to pay the ultimate price to sort out that problem once and for all.
They went after you.
Right?
They keep going after you, don't they?
Keep going after me. Even when I tell them I've retired from public life, they still come in for me.
Okay. We take tweets on this show. I don't know if you have a Twitter handle. If not, you should get one. But Dace or Das Dan, he says Kimunya is Kenya's most corrupt man. Why is it whenever Kimunya goes, there's a corruption issue?
So where is the corruption now? I've been away for how many years? Since March last year, right?
Yeah.
Am I in the? I hear there is scandals on what? The laptop is supposed to be corruption. Am I there?
Standard gauge.
Standard gauge. Am I there?
Were you transport minister when during the initial deals?
The standard gauge proper started in 2008. That's when President Kibaki and President Museveni proclaimed at State House that the two governments have decided to to upgrade the current railway system to standard gauge. And then thereafter, it's up to the implementers now to implement that policy, right? And my predecessor, Honorable Mokwere, signed the MOU with the Chinese to start the studies, right? Because that, and he wasn't, it's not him doing it himself, it's on behalf of government. And I found the study already in progress. I received the study, I gave it to Kenya Railways to verify, review, approve, the design, do whatever they needed to do, and then come back to me and say, yes, we've agreed.
And you said you saved the country how much?
Now, what happened is in between, you know when that study was going on, around about 2010, you know, the Chinese had already offered and had already signed an agreement in 2009 to do a feasibility study. I believe it was about 2010 that it was also floated as a tender, right? And 1 billion shillings was provided for in the budget. 1 billion? Yes. So some people won, then others fought about it. In the fighting, right, it occurred that, first of all, even the word of that was going to be very controversial. But luckily, as we were doing that, I now realized I was now in transport. And I asked, why are we doing another study when there's already a study that is almost getting complete? And it was almost like, you know, I wasn't quite getting the information. So I asked for a report, why we are doing 2 parallel feasibility studies. And I couldn't get anything conclusive, so I said, first of all, we have decided as a government that this is going to be on a government to government, because nobody else is going to provide that money. So we don't need to do our own study that was going to cost us 1 billion shillings.
So you cancelled it?
Cancelled it. And that money was used to do Syokimau railway station and all the other places. But it was going to disappear.
Mheshimiwa, hold that thought. I'm going to go, before we go to break, Rodney Ochenja is saying, ask Kimunya how much he made on the Grand Regency that he's able to play golf now. We'll talk about that after the break. Because Kenyans are haters out there, man. They're hating. They're hating. But you can take it. Jeff Koinange live, coming to you from the restaurant, the Terrace restaurant of the Intercontinental. If you hear some noise in the background, we're in a restaurant. Bear with us. Well, the topic is hot. Don't even think of switching that remote control. JKL is back in a moment. Welcome back to Jeff Koinange live from the Terrace restaurant of the Intercontinental Hotel. Tonight, it's all about the hostile witness, Amos Kimunya, on the bench. Let me read a couple of your tweets. Engineer Moredi Mwangi says, I like Kimunya. He is brilliant, and I just hate to see brains wasted. Remember his first budget? ? And then Joe Mathenga says, giving all the right answers on the show, but please tell us about the JKIA expansion. Were you against the expansion?
I was not against the expansion. In fact, I'm the one who proposed it, right? You know, I asked for the master plan for the development of the airport. And I looked at it and said, can we fast track? I was looking into, remember I was responsible for developing Vision 2030. So I knew where we really want to be by 2030. So looking at the projections, it looks like whatever we are doing within the current infrastructure, unit 1, 2, 3, and 4, will not be enough. So can we fast track even coming up with a new terminal, right? And I told management of, now start working on that. And we agreed on the mechanisms of how that was to be done.
Was this the one that was supposed to be built by the Qataris?
No.
It wasn't the Qatar government one?
Qatar was before me, and I don't want even to know what happened, right?
Yeah, it was a mess.
It had its own messes. But this is now a matter of developing 1, 2, 3, and 4, the units, plus a whole greenfield airport. And we started the tendering process. Everything went on well. until the tendering process returned only one tenderer. And I said, how do we know we are getting good value for money? We did this only one, this tenderer, right? Shouldn't we open it up wider? There's also a change in specifications from a design, build, and finance to a design and build only, and proposing a financial. So I had a bit of those issues, and I was the only one fighting that battle. Everyone turned against me. And I said, well, at the end of the door, it's on record what my objections were.
Yeah. You also fought a battle against De La Rue. De La Rue getting the sole printing tender for money. You fought it and fought it and fought it.
Yes.
And in the end, they still got it.
But I fought from a positive angle, okay? Because the first reaction by my predecessor in Treasury was to cancel the contract and then give them another contract. We looked at it and said, fine. They got this contract to print 1.7 billion pieces of paper, right? For 3 years. Then after 3 years, you'd have to retender again. So the first question I asked is, why do we need to print so much money if you're only printing for 3 years, right? And I was told, yes, because we have to mop up all the existing money because we are changing the design. And I started asking the banks, have you been alerted on these changes? You're putting ATMs left, right, center. What will this have implication on that? And this was 2007, remember?
Mm-hmm.
We are launching new money, right? And on the eve of an election, right? So I said, you cannot do this. So we postponed everything to 2008, so we had some interim orders. But in between, we discussed with some of the technical staff at the Treasury, and we said, instead of this toing and froing every year, having to go for competitive tenders and all that, why don't we do what other countries have done? Countries like Sri Lanka, countries like Britain, countries like Nigeria, by buying into the money printer, so that you get your skin in the game, as it were, right? Now, when you're sitting in a board, there's no way they are going to, do you in on the prices.
Right. And you wanted Kenya government to get, what, 40% of the deal?
In fact, at that point, we were only asking for 25%. And it was turned upside down, that, oh, there must be a deal, there must be what. And I said, forget it. Then the parliamentary committee, when everything sobered up after the Halwale saga in 2008, the Okemo-led committee then looked at it and said, this was a good thing. Why don't we even push for 40%? So when the current president, Uhuru, was now in Treasury, they went back to him and said, this thing was good, so can you push it back? And Treasury started the discussions. So it was brought back to cabinet, now not pushing for 25%, but to pushing for 40%. And guess what? After cabinet had approved that, and the negotiation started, Halwale brings it to parliament and said, Kimunya is at it again. That time I'm in transport, right?
Okay, let me ask you this. All these controversies that you've been around, you have never been tempted, you have never pocketed a cent in all of them?
Why would I? Like the chap who is asking about why I can afford to play golf. I started playing golf long before I went to parliament, right? I only went to parliament because President Kibaki, then as running for president, came and said, I need some of you professionals. I've seen what you've done with this park, I've seen what you've done within the club, I've seen what you've done even as we discussed professionally. I need some of you to come and help me in Gambia, right? So that's how I ended up getting into the Kibipiri seat, because you need to be elected to be in cabinet.
Would you go back? Would you stand again?
No.
You're not going to stand in 2017?
No.
Why not?
Not in 2017, not in 20, wherever it is. I've decided that I've given 10 years of my life to the public cause, right?
Yeah.
And I think I did what many people would never do in their lifetime.
But
right?
you thought your people were ungrateful?
No, I never thought they were ungrateful. And I thank them for that, and I'm still doing a lot for them. But what I've decided to do is because I cannot change the country alone, right? And I have no ambitions of wanting to be president of this country. There's nobody who will be grateful whether because of what you've done for them as president. What I've decided to do is to invest the rest of my time now into building future leaders. Right?
Masharia Wamogo is asking, why always you? Why always you? Why do they keep hammering at you?
Why would they hammer at an entity? I suppose that's the issue. I make headlines when I'm declared hostile. Never mind, I don't even know what it means to be hostile, but you don't even know who you are witness for, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point is when you speak the truth, when you daring, when you don't want to make deals, people don't like you.
Yeah.
Right?
Joe Kamau is saying Kimunya is obviously a brilliant guy, but that arrogance will be his end. You know, why do people keep coming back to that one where they say
They
you're
say
arrogant?
Jeff is arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a different story. So
Exactly. So the point is, we are in a country where if you speak the truth, and Dalmas Otieno, you know, Robert Otieno is the one who kept on telling me every time we would push an issue and it is not agreed, that in this country being intelligence is a liability.
It's a curse.
It's a curse. Because people think that if you're not with arguing in the same way as they want to hear, then you must be arrogant, right?
Yeah.
But I also believe that sacrificing what you believe in for political expediency is what in management is usually termed as intellectual prostitution, right?
Mhm.
And I told myself I will never get myself to sacrifice what I believe in just for expediency purposes.
But tell me something, Mheshimiwa. Will corruption ever end in this country? Because look, let's face it, from the times of Goldenberg to Anglo leasing to, you name the controversy and the scandals, they keep getting larger and larger and the people greedier and greedier. Will corruption ever end?
I don't think corruption will ever end. It has never ended anywhere in the world, right? It's what mechanisms are put in place to ensure that it does not continue, right? Or that at least it can be arrested. And there's a lot of work that's been done in this country, right? But unfortunately, when you hear people talking about corruption on any issue, like I said, anything that people do not understand, right? It must be corruption.
Yeah.
Now, today, I was reading in the media, my own chairman of the Accountants Institute, right? A professional who should be knowing better than that, saying that the government is wasting monies on the standard gauge railway, on the laptop, because there's corruption, right? Now, surely, I believe he works for one of the major audit firms. Yeah? And I hope he has cleared that statement with his partners. Because it's something that you don't go telling that the government is corrupt unless you have the facts.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
The fact that people are making noise about something does not mean there's corruption. Right? The fact that people do not understand something, it doesn't mean there's corruption. Right? Now, there's corruption in all manner of places, and I believe that's why we had the Anti-Corruption Commission to do the work.
Yeah.
And I keep asking Kenyans, if you believe that you have some information that something has involved some corruption, give that information to the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yeah. What are they going
the
to do?
The president even launched some website to say people to report. How many people have reported?
Probably very few. People have forgotten.
Yeah. Now, you're only talking of corruption on Standard Gauge Railway because one MP talks about it. The laptop, because somebody has complained that they lost out. I don't know which other one. Now, how many other projects are going on? How many roads are going on across the entire country? Yeah. But if you now say, oh, there's a road in Magadi where I believe there's corruption, tomorrow, the whole media will be, there's corruption on this road. So we become witch hunters, and instead of people looking for the truth, people are constantly wanting to hammer in what was said. It's a gossip nation.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, we cannot get anywhere.
Yeah.
And we are scaring away investors. I'll be very scared to put my money in a major investment in this country because you'll be told it must have been obtained corruptly. Right?
Sometimes they say, well, there's smoke, there's fire, but I agree to you to a certain extent.
Yes.
We are a gossipy nation.
Yeah.
Sky T. Karish is asking, what vision do you have for young leaders in this country?
I'll just tell them to soldier on. There's this is a great country. There's a great future, but don't look at the current crop of politicians and hope to get some guidance from them. Certainly not from the Koinange of this world. And there's some good members in parliament, and I pity them because you can see they are lost in all this, in all this maze. But just think about your country. Think about yourself. Think about your family. That's what I would tell these young guys. And think about your career. And don't sacrifice your professionalism for expediency. Don't sacrifice what you believe in is the right thing and go for it.
Yeah.
And when we have a critical mass of such people, Kenya will change.
Absolutely. Devolution. You think it'll work, or is there such a mess now, especially between the governors and senators? Will devolution ever get going? Devolution
can work, and I believe will work, right? And I wish the current crop of members of parliament could be spending their time in looking at what are all the laws we passed as part of implementing the new constitution, especially on devolution? What are the loopholes that we need to tighten? What are the things that are a threat to devolution not working, right? So that instead of chasing governors, instead of fighting between Senate and the governors, between the county assemblies and the governors, what we should be thinking of is how can we make devolution work? Because we're pushing so much money, or we push so much money to the counties. But how much of that money has left the bank, right?
Yeah.
So right now, the money in circulation in this country is limited. That's why people are complaining that there's no money, there's no business.
Yeah.
Because all the money is lying in central bank.
And I agree with you. I mean,
and we need to push that money. And the only way you can push that money is by getting the governance structures at the county level to work.
but people need to read the Constitution. People really need to read what's in that book. I don't think enough people have read it.
They haven't. And I can tell you, I was in that parliament. I remember there was one day, I actually brought in an amendment to require that all members of parliament must have a degree, right? It was overwhelmingly supported until afterwards people said, what did we just pass? And then they went to the president, right?
Yeah.
To then plead that he doesn't sign that bill, ABCD, right? So it just tells you, even when you're in the house, right? There's, people who move with the crowds. And we don't have a reading culture. And I can tell you, not many people read, many people know. I just read to you, for example, what the PAC standing orders call for.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that even the speaker allowed them to do something that is outside their mandate.
You think they're listening?
I hope they are.
You think they
Right?
care?
I hope they do, because if that is the watchdog we have, if the watchdog is asleep or is not caring, then we're in trouble as a country.
Any regrets about 10 years being in Parliament and all those portfolios you held?
I've actually looked back, and I'll be documenting all these things in the near future. But I look back with a lot of satisfaction with what I did in Kibipiri. I uplifted the lives of those people. I look back at what I did as the Minister of Finance, the things I did in the 2.5 years that I was there, the reforms that I initiated and the achievements I made. It will take so many people a lifetime to do.
So you're
And
gonna
transport
yeah,
and all that. So
yeah.
I have nothing to in terms of regrets.
I have a title for your book,
Which one?
The Comeback Kid from Kipipiri.
Or the crucibles of the comeback kid. We'll see.
Even better.
We'll see.
We'll close with a tweet from a guy called 5-Star Stunner. I just had a paradigm change about Kimunya after hearing his side. He is brilliant and has put his points across.
Oh, thank you. And
Well
I
done.
hope many Kenyans change.
Mheshimiwa,
Jeff,
good luck.
thanks a lot.
Look
for
forward
this
to the book.
opportunity.
Amos Kimunya, hostile witness no more. Aiden Canaan, are you listening? Wow, what a guest, what a show. I tell you, cannot find guests like Amos Kimunya anywhere else, opening up so candidly. And yes, call him what you will, arrogant, impatient, impudent. Don't call him incompetent. That has been Jeff Koinange Live for this week. Next week, new topic, new guests, new everything. That's how we do what we do. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, #JKL. In the meantime, the news continues with Nancy Kachungira and Ben Kitili. Thanks for watching us only on Kenya's television network, KTN. Good night. Good luck.